Hello, this is Britt Caswell with another example video. In today's video, I'm covering example 4 from lesson 7-6 in the SavvasRealize Algebra 2 textbook. The goal of today's video is to write the equation of a translation. Just from looking at the graph, you betcha. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using our general form of our equation and identifying our A, B, C, and D and then just plugging them in. That's the name of the game. Now here's what's nice about the sine and the cosine. Okay, they're just phase shifts of each other. Remember back in like 7-3 or something like that? I was kind of pointing that out. How the sine, I could just move it over a little bit and bam, you get a cosine. It's magic. So either of these things you could do with either a sine or a cosine function. It doesn't really matter which. I'm just going based off their little anchor point and where its position is to decide it. So like this one, oh, come on now. This one has it right here at 0 and then kind of has this nice little S shape here. And so that looks real convenient for a sine function for me. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so let's start by looking at our values. So in terms of our A value, it's our distance from our midline to the top. So you could see our midline here is at 0. And then it goes to 1. So our A value is 1. Now our B value is how long it takes to do one of these swoops. Alright, now this one's a little harder to see, but it's going from 3 until like slightly over 9. Okay, so remember pi is about 3.14. And if you multiply that times 2, you get 6.28. So that's about 2 pi. So that distance that's slightly over 6, I have the feeling that that's saying that our period is 2 pi. And so since our period is 2 pi, that means that our B value is 1. Okay. Now our C value, we're looking for whether it's been moved to the left or to the right. So you can see, I'm sorry. You can see here that instead of starting at 0 and going up and then around, this is starting at 3. So our C value here, it's been moved to the right by 3. Now make sure when we go to plug that into our formula, make sure it says x minus 3 to get that minus in there to say it moved to the right 3. Okay? That's a big deal. But the C value itself is 3 because it's what's being subtracted from x. Okay? And then my D value is how much up or down the graph has been shifted. So since my midline is still along the x-axis, my D value is 0. So now let's go ahead and let's put these all into the equation. So y equals, I would put A, but my A is 1, so we don't have to write a 1 in front of the sign. So I'm going to write the sign. My B value is 1, so I don't need to put any 1 in there. I can just go straight to the x minus c. So x minus 3. And then my D is 0, so putting plus 0 wouldn't do anything. So that is the final form of my equation, which really isn't that bad, actually. Alright, so now let's get into the cosine here. Now I'm using cosine for this because they give me an anchor point here, and I could see it's that nice U shape right there. But I'm going to do that same process I just did there with A, B, C, and D, and I'm just going to identify those. So my A, my amplitude, okay? The midline of my graph looks like right here, right? Because it's at, oh, this is counting by ones, so 1, 2, 3. So it's at -3 down here and -1 here. So halfway between -3 and -1 is -2. But you could see that the amplitude is this distance here. And so that's only a distance of 1. So my A here is 1. Now my B value is how many iterations of this U shape happen between 0 and 2 pi. Well, my yellow part that I highlighted starts at 0 and it goes to 2 pi, so my B value is 1. Now my C value is how much it's been shifted to the left or to the right, right? That's a phase shift. This has not been moved left or right at all, right? It would just normally be here. So my C value here is 0. And then my D value is how much up or down it's been shifted. So instead of that midline being on the x-axis, it's down here at -2. So I put a -2 here to show that D value. And so now that I know A, B, C, D, now we're going to write out that equation. So I have y equals, I would put the A, but my A is 1, so it doesn't matter. And then the cosine. And then I would put my B, but my B value doesn't matter because my B value is 1, and 1 times x is just x. And then I would put my -c, but my c is 0, so it doesn't really matter. And then I would fill in my D, -2. So there you guys have it. That is how to write the equation of a translation. Also what to look for that A and B, because I sense that'll be coming up. Until next time.